We must continue to explore this topic with intelligence in ways that often is not the case. I made a video quite recently, and it was called, "Does the LGBTQ community think that I'm a bigot?" And in that video, where I had explained the concept that I don't morally agree with homosexuality, however, what does that matter? Because in the end, I'm against discriminating against the gay community in any way. If, as gay people want to be married, as they want to become president of the United States, they want to have wedding cakes in honor of their own wedding, how does that affect me at all? Let gay people do whatever they want to, because ultimately, if it came down to my moral approval of anybody else, whether in the gay community or not, well, ultimately I'm going to become the minority, because my own value system and morality is not going to be part of the majority. So then ultimately I'm wanting to take rights away from everybody. And you'll see what I mean in this one comment. This is really what brings us in perspective, what my true vision is and my perspective of this. I received a comment from Dancher, and here's what Dancher said, quote, "My question is, how can you think something is morally wrong? And it also that it is wrong to discriminate against or treat people of that group unfairly. For example, I think racism is morally wrong, and while I'm against taking their rights away like the First Amendment, I certainly think it should be considered a bad thing and be discriminated in more areas of society like employment. If you think it should be illegal to discriminate against gay people in employment and adoption, which I do, I would question that you really believe it is a morally bad thing personally," end quote. And that comment received 1 like. So 2 people feel that way. But it goes back to what I just said in the opening of this video. Imagine this concept. We all have our own moral belief system. So what if we only were okay with people having rights and privileges and basic human rights as long as they morally agreed with us? That would be crazy. That would be impossible, because we all have different views on things. In fact, it's interesting because we have the law and we have religion that help give us those bases of what even is morally right and what is morally wrong. Take away religion and take away the law, there's so much open for interpretation. We have these things that guide us, but ultimately we have different moral views. And I would even say religion itself, different religions will bring that up. We could say that in theory that with other religions, I in theory morally oppose them, because their morals are not going to line up 100% to mine. I mean, in my own moral system, everyone was born with a broken nature in which we already are flawed the moment we were born, because on our own we were going to make wrong decisions. That's what's called sin nature in Christianity. So by default, even if Christianity is the most popular religion in the world, still within that, I have certain moral views that not all Christians will share. It's that way for anything. So what I'm saying is this. I don't see the paradox in which I say, you know what, I morally disagree with homosexuality. However, I am 100% against discrimination for people who are gay. Because who cares that I don't morally agree with gay people? Who cares? Because what about all the other groups of people that I morally disagree with that I mentioned in the last video? I'm morally opposed to a man and a woman in a sexual relationship living in the same place and they're not married, okay? I'm morally opposed to someone who is very much involved in gossip and they base their identity in that. That is also spoken against in the Bible. So it gets to the point where, so I'm going to discriminate against everyone who is involved in what the Bible describes as sin, when I myself am involved in those, in certain sins, maybe not the ones I've listed, but we all are, and that's the whole point. So if we're going to get to the point where we say, well, I believe that if I morally oppose something, that people who participate in that should be discriminated against. We can't do that. And that's my whole point. As far as Christianity goes, how is it not hypocritical to say, you know what? Let's discriminate against gay people because the Bible teaches against that. Why just that, though? Why are we only discriminating against the gay community? Why are we not discriminating against all the other things that the Bible describes as sin? And I think the answer is because the majority of people do not struggle with any concept of a gay identity. So therefore, it's easy to point them out. It's easy to discriminate against them because they are the minority. But for those of the rest of us who are the majority and have our own sins that we are sorting out and dealing with and challenged by and all that, well, it's harder to discriminate against the majority. Let's take the conversation from there. But it's that simple. If you're confused on why I do not believe in discriminating against gay people, yet I morally oppose homosexuality, well, then we need to stop talking about homosexuality and talk about any other sin listed in the Bible. Any other sin in the Bible that it says that separates us from God, well, let's go through those lists and let's start trying to discriminate against those people. It's in this comment, it's presented as if it's hypocritical to morally oppose something and at the same time be against discriminating people who are in that group. But if that's the case, we need to stop focusing on homosexuality here and look at the whole spectrum. I say it's actually hypocritical to discriminate against gay people if you morally oppose them, because that means you're only bringing more attention to your own issues that you need to sort out. Your comments belong right here.